This episode is brought to you by the PowerMonkey Training app. Now, out of all of the cool things that we do with PowerMonkey, whether that be our camps, or our retreats, or in-person events, the thing that I'm most excited about and our team is most excited about is our new PowerMonkey Training app that is coming out very, very soon. Now, a version of this is already in the iOS and Android stores, but the new one will have a complete redesign and a lot of cool new features that you haven't been able to access yet. There's really four categories of training skills depending on who you are as an athlete. The first one is probably the one that you're most familiar with, are skill plans. How do you learn a strict pull-up, a handstand, a muscle-up? They're all assessment based. We put you into the correct level according to what your starting point is, and you build plans from there. The couple new ones that we're really excited about, one is our volume plan. So volume plans will be based for those athletes that are learning capacity around skill specific training. So if you're an athlete out there looking to take that one muscle up and build it into 3, 5, 10, 20 and beyond, we have a plan to help build capacity around skill specific training. Very, very unique, very different, something that we're new offering, really excited about. Additionally, we have our GPP plan for gymnastics. We call it our monkey method plan. This is a well-rounded gymnastics plan that you can be accessing on a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level. Beginner and intermediate are 3 days a week. Our advanced is up to 6 days a week. You'll be doing handstands, mobility, core work, bar, ring. It's a well-rounded plan around becoming more capable and confident around gymnastics movements. Our last types of plans will be our 365 plans, and these are bite-sized plans that can be incorporated into any training plan, starting with our core 365, something that's been in the app for a while, but a new feature is that we're going to be putting up one workout a day for free on the app. All you need to do is download and register, and you will get a free workout every single day that is core specific, between 5 and 10 minutes long, that you can incorporate into your training. It's a great starting point, and there'll be more of these 365 plans that help create a more well-rounded training experience. Come train with us with the PowerMonkey Training app. We think you guys are going to love it. Welcome to the PowerMonkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world about what they do. I'm your host, Dave Durante, with my co-host, Chad Vaughn, and on today's episode, we have Dallin Pepper. We were lucky enough to have Dallin out at our most recent PowerMonkey Camp 18 in Tennessee just a couple of weeks ago. He's a phenomenal athlete, an even better person. He's only 20 years old and wise beyond his years. We talk a little bit about his experience at camp, learning some new things, where his deficiencies are, and where he wanted to spend his time, specifically on those new gymnastics skills that were thrown at him at the games this past summer. Talking a little bit about what it's like to move across the country from Utah out to Florida, training with the brute strength crew now under Matt Torres, what it's like to be training with such an elite group of other athletes, how that's been an advantage for him, and what his goals are for the upcoming season. I'm a big fan of Dallin's. It was great to get to know him in person, play a little pickleball together with him. We hope you guys enjoy this one as well.
All right, Dallin, hey man, we're excited to have you today. We're just fresh off of PowerMonkey Camp, so we got to spend a week with you out there. And what I want to jump straight in with is, and you got to know I'm fishing for a specific answer here. Was there a station at camp that was most meaningful to you at this point in your career? What did you find most valuable at camp?
I think, I loved the barbell mobility.
Oh man, that was
There it is.
But
There it
but
is. Yeah.
I think just learning, one of the biggest takeaways was like everyone should be able to perform that perfect squat that you talk about, Chad, with the toes forward. But I think one of the biggest learning experiences and like just understanding gymnastic strength was the bar and ring stations. I learned a ton of different stuff in those and just got to mess around, and it turned into a lot of play, but it's work in a sense for me, and that was fun to experience.
Nice. Well, I'm so glad to hear that you didn't say anything about the handstand station. So we are
I mean,
all
there's
set.
there,
hit him off well.
there's
Hit
that
him off
the
well.
press to handstand. I didn't know if
Yeah.
that counted because that was one of those breakout ones.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great. Glad to hear that for sure. And again, I was excited to see you there throughout the week and really taking part in all the stations and getting in and really being one of the campers. You jumped into the competition, our little fun competition on Friday as well. How was that for you?
That was the highlight. I mean, I think it's with CrossFit and like the atmosphere that we create, like the hype around this handstand relay race, like where else are you gonna find that? Like everyone's like getting in each other's faces and like I mean it's not that competitive, of course. But yeah, that was like the highlight. And then getting into the team competitions and just competing in some fun little workouts that everyone was able to do and just cheering everyone on it was so much fun.
I don't know. I mean, you say it's not competitive, Dave. It's like life and death for Dave. That
But yeah,
Thursday night competition.
that was definitely sarcastic.
Yeah. So
I
let's
mean,
give some perspective to the listeners out there that have not attended camp. That Thursday night relays has become, but for return campers and staff and everything, something we look forward to. And yes, I'm competitive, but I think everybody that comes to camp is competitive, and so everybody wants to win. We've definitely had to tone it down because it's gotten a little overboard a couple of times. But this was pretty manageable. We lost, yeah, we lost. We
the other
lost.
team cheated. They cheated.
Yeah.
It's on video.
There was a questionable ending with someone not potentially crossing the line, but they did take the victory. And then we added something new to the equation there. I don't know. I brought it up to everybody, but somebody brought it up to me. We did handstand holds after that. Dallin, were you a part of that one?
Yes. I think I hit a
Yeah.
PR hold while everyone was throwing foam blocks at me. So
Oh, nice.
So that was a little wrinkle. The other team was allowed to throw foam blocks at you from like 5 feet away and try to knock you over. And so that was, I think, unfortunately, Boz wasn't there for the end of the week, but that's something to consider for the games. Instead of just handstand hold, let's throw odd objects at the person and see if they can stand up. You think that's a good addition to the games?
I think I mean people could call it silly, but I think it's a great test.
It
Can you
was fun.
imagine a bunch of bean bags being thrown?
Oh my
Just
God.
chucked
No, I think the
across the
foams
floor.
are the foam is so my coach used to throw stuff at us while we were training, like shoes while we were in the middle of doing a routine.
Was he pissed off at you or just part of the
No,
training?
so there's one specific situation. We were getting ready to go compete in Brazil, and he's like, "They're gonna be, it's gonna be a crowd down there that just don't like Americans. They're not gonna want to see you guys win." Like, okay, well, we'll be prepared for it. And then like I'm swinging on pommel horse, and a shoe like hits me in the back. I'm like, "Why did you throw a shoe at me?" He's like, "Hey, that could happen when we're down in Brazil." I was like, "That's not gonna happen any." You got to be prepared. It was
You
like
never know.
dodgeball, like throwing wrench. Yeah.
Hey,
That's
So
awesome.
anytime I've heard of a story of weightlifting coaches throw shoots, it's because they were pissed off at the athlete. So it's a little bit of a different, no training
it's
effect or
possible. My coach
just,
is
yeah.
probably pissed at me all the time. But Dallin, you're 20 years old. You're coming off of, multiple years of being a junior champion at the CrossFit level, 16 and 17-year-old, just a superstar at that age category. And you make the jump this year, your first men's division, the open division. What would you say is the biggest learning experience that you had going from, crushing it at the younger division and now making the jump to playing with the big dogs?
Yeah, so after my first individual competition, it was the West Coast Classic last year as a semifinal. I just told everyone it's kind of like that college football, the NFL, or even high school to
Mm,
college. Uh, Everyone's so fast and so efficient
mm,
at everything. There's
Mm,
no time for mistakes. And then that was just magnified at the games. Like you take one extra step to grab your belt and tighten it before a barbell movement and three guys have passed you. Like
mm,
um, they say every second matters, but I don't think you can fully experience that until you're watching like 1 second tick away and competitors pass you.
mm.
So
mm,
that's definitely the biggest difference from the teenagers. And I mean, everyone's there to win. So
mm-hmm.
it's crazy.
And were you happy with your performance? I mean, you finished 19th, your first time at the games. You're 20 years old. You're up and coming superstar in this world. Was your first game something that you look back at and say, 19, I'm happy with that, but it's something I definitely could have done better, or that's the best I could have done in this particular situation?
Uh, so there's like a balance that I have to go back and forth. It's like for rookie year, 20 years old, 19th. That all sounds great. I had the goal of top 10 and I was not necessarily close. So I always try and bounce back between those, whatever like my mind needs at the time, like a reassuring, like, hey, you're doing the right things, or like, hey, you got to step it up. Um, I had two goals going into the games this year. One was being the top 10, and two was to learn as much as I could. And I can, without a doubt, say I learned as much as I could, and I have a lot to take into next season. I just missed out on the other one. So,
Mm-hmm. Can you give us an example of some of the learning experiences? One, you talked about the speed and the efficiency of the other athletes out there, but
mhm.
any other big take home points you're going to be able to apply for next year?
We thought we had been working on upper body pressing, but we need to take it to a whole new level. And then we we learned that my running has improved, but we're going to continue to get better at those things. And then we saw a lot of new movements, a lot of new gymnastics movements, and just really trying to be the best athlete I can be, and not necessarily the best CrossFitter.
Yep.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I love that focus. Athlete first, health and longevity, and that always seems to work out better. And since we're talking about the games, I always curious to know from a games athlete, being in that experience and Boz's first year of writing the workouts as well. So let's talk a little bit about the workout specifically for you. Did you have one that was most difficult or that you disliked the most? And then did you have one that was your favorite?
um yeah, so I would say the two that there was a few that I really struggled, but the two that kind of correlate were the elevated Elizabeth with the dips on the P bars, and then the echo press with the new variation of the handstand pushup. Just comes down to
Mm,
upper body pressing. Those were a real struggle for me. And then I realized quickly after talking with Dave for about 30 seconds that my efficiency on the P bars were terrible, and that probably could
mm,
have changed things. And just little things that could have helped on both those movements. And then going back to the drawing board with training. And like when those workouts were released, it was a little frustrating by the time we got to the handstand push-up one with these new movements. I think everyone had a little bit of that feeling.
mhm,
Uh, I've been able to listen to some interviews with Boz and like rewatch the events and reflect on it, and I do think they were great movements to start including. And uh, like CrossFit needs to expand. I actually think it was this podcast that Boz was on where um, you guys had talked about like with CrossFitters and weightlifting, they have somewhat respectable numbers, CrossFitters and conditioning. And then you guys brought up like one of the highest skilled movements we do is a muscle up, and that's not even a movement in
mhm.
gymnastics.
Yeah.
And that really stood out to me, and was like, wow, we really need to step that up if that's the three pillars or whatever.
Mhm.
Right.
Um, so a lot of those, that's kind of my thoughts on those gymnastics movements. And then some of my favorite events, it was the ones I did best on, but it was the swim and ski, and then the wall ball dumbbell snatch sprint.
Mhm.
Just workouts, fairly powerful athlete, so just being able to let go and
Mhm.
work as hard as I can for a shorter amount of time was really fun for me.
Mm.
Can I jump in there real quick? I just want to
Yeah.
elaborate on something you mentioned there, because we've had some other games athletes on post games, and they gave their take, and it's been kind of a mixed bag in terms of thoughts on the programming and the number of new skills that were thrown out there. And I think you have you speak like a veteran athlete. Like listening to you,
Mhm.
you don't sound like
Thank you.
a rookie. You don't sound like a 20-year-old. You sound like someone who has been around the block and is prepared for basically a long haul in this sport. So it's refreshing to speak with someone like yourself that comes across as someone who's been around at the highest level for a long time. But I am curious from your perspective as to, did you feel like too many new skills were thrown out there? Did you think that it was him trying to prove a point with Boz, or did you actually appreciate the fact that, hey, CrossFit is about testing the unknown, and in this case, it just happened to be more of the unknown than what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I think maybe one or two could have been saved, but I don't really like, my opinion's not straightforward on that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I really did think he did a great job. And in the end, how many of these movements are new movements? It's just new movements to the CrossFit Games.
Mhm.
And I've learned that. And I think we all just kind of forgot to do our homework and do our history research. I think the biggest thing, and I think there could have been less criticism, was the spread at which these new movements came. I feel like the first 2 days were very different from the second 2 days. I think there could have been and maybe Boz wanted it this way, but there could have been a little more balance where like throw one of the strength events, save one of the new high skill gymnastics for Saturday or Sunday. It just seemed very front heavy with the new movements as opposed to the back end just
Yep.
having pretty classic stuff.
Yep. Chad always likes to come up with this one. What'd you think about sandbag?
Sandbag was awesome. I was really hoping for a different result based on how the warm up went, and there was 3 guys that were able to actually shoulder the 300-pound bag in the warm up area, and I was one of them. And I was like top 5. Like that was the easiest sandbag clean of my life. And I don't know if it was the accumulation of 10 reps by the time we got to the 320 bag, but I was just shaking like crazy, and the sandbag crushed me a couple times and didn't go quite as well as I wanted to, but I thought it was a very cool event, and I think it could have been even cooler if I would have capitalized a little better.
That's an interesting one. Chad, I mean, I can't imagine that heavy sandbag cleans or anything that you guys would ever do, but most gyms don't even have 300-pound sandbags.
Right.
You know, how do you even prepare for something like that in your own gym? Like, Chad, you ever do anything like that in your own training, or is that more reserved
No,
to CrossFit?
definitely not. I mean, other than, just the getting into CrossFit and doing occasionally whatever randomly comes up. I'm not sure that I've probably only ever done 1 or 2 sandbag workouts, and that was with more of a carry than doing any cleans or anything like that. But yeah, you're definitely right. I mean, you were saying that 300 was your heaviest sandbag clean ever, so that makes me curious. Have you worked with sandbags a lot in the past? Have you done a lot of sandbag training?
I do it like here in Naples, like we've got sandbags 2 or 3 times a week. We do a lot of the strongman stuff year round. That's one of the approaches Matt takes, is like we're training for the CrossFit Games year round, and that's the type of stuff that we're going to see. So whether it's carries or holds, we do a lot of that. But the heaviest bag I'd ever touched was 200 pounds until we got into that warm up area. But now we have heavy bags now. We just need to go fill them up.
Yeah, and I definitely think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you're thinking about trying to be the best athlete that you can be, not yes, we're specifying, but at the same time being the best athlete that you can be in CrossFit, specifically being well rounded, and it definitely is a good reminder for me as a programmer and an athlete to be careful of being too specific. How much are you going to see? How often are you going to see a heavy sandbag in the games? And maybe it comes up more often now, but it's never come up before that I can remember. But at the same time, if you know you're an overall good athlete because you're training with odd objects and everything else, I mean, it's going to add to your barbell strength as well. So
For sure.
And so, Dallin, again, we got a chance to work with you at camp. I want to go back to camp in a little bit, but let's just stay on the game side of things. You're young, you're huge, you're a big dude at 20 years old. I'm working with you and working on some backflips and press handstand. You're like a massive guy, but you move really well. Like even on the gymnastic stuff that's maybe new for you, you pick up things really well and quickly, and you seem to be just an overall athlete that's a natural. You come from this new generation of athletes that grew up with CrossFit in the gym and naturally transitioning into being an elite athlete in that space without having much long-term training or success in individual sports. Did you come from some other sport, or was CrossFit one of the ones that you found early on as a teenager that kind of stuck, or did you play team sports or any individual sports growing up?
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird stage now where like CrossFit really is my background, but because I've done it longer than any other sport. But growing up, I was playing baseball, football, basketball. I wrestled one year. I played soccer when I was little, but really came down to like baseball, football for a while. And then I transitioned to CrossFit. I stopped playing those other sports when I was 14, 15, and then full-time CrossFit. And then the end of my junior year, I played baseball, and my senior year, I played football, just to get out there and have a good time. So
And it's interesting to me because, with those sports and with someone that's as athletic as you are, there's a potential for college scholarship with those, right? You could football, baseball, those opportunities are very real for an athlete like yourself. And I'm curious about whether or not parents and family have any impact on this, but what made you choose the path of CrossFit to drop those other ones that have the potential for maybe a free college education, and go into one that's maybe a little bit more unknown. CrossFit doesn't have that security of maybe a scholarship. It does have some dollars at the end of the rainbow when it comes to competitions, but that's a little bit less secure than someone like yourself that probably could get a scholarship. Is there any thought process along why you decided to go in that direction?
Yeah, like it wasn't an easy decision. When it comes to like scholarships, from as early as I can remember, I told myself I was either going to get a sports scholarship or an academic scholarship. So really, whatever sport I chose, I was determined I was going to get one anyway. So that wasn't a huge driving factor. It was more just choosing what I loved doing at the time. And I'd started to get a little bit burnt out of these other sports, and CrossFit was just like pulling at me every second of every day. I just wanted to be learning how to get better at this sport, and eventually these other sports started taking away from that time, and I just wanted to go all in and see if I could be the best in the world.
Well, it seems like you're on the path to making
Mhm.
pretty phenomenal decision. And part of that decision was leaving your home and moving down to Florida and being full time with the Brute crew with Matt Torres as your coach. When did you make the move, and how's the transition been for you?
Yeah, so we moved out here, me and my wife, early January, like January 5th, about a week before Wadapalooza this past year. Um, and man, we just love it here. Like Naples is awesome. The training environment, there's what there will be 8 of us at the end of the month when Fee moves down here. And it's just like it kind of gives like that football team, the baseball team, like it's a little bit of a team aspect because we're all going in the gym, we're all just working all day long. And it's just really good to be around people that have those same goals, and they are my competitors, at least the males. But we just have a great time. So
Yeah, this has become like my go-to question in these situations, and I love the different responses that I get depending on the situation that the athlete comes from. But this idea of these like super teams being created, whether it's you guys with Brood or CompTrain or Proven or whoever it might be, where athletes are congregating together to live and train and to hopefully push them beyond what they can capably do on their own. Do you find that environment with a potential competitor standing next to you that creates a situation every day that is almost as intense or could potentially be as intense as a competitive environment? Do you find that to be beneficial, or do you think in the long run there could be some detrimental effects that you haven't really seen yet? The fact that you're doing that day in and day out.
yeah, so I think it can be very detrimental if you don't have the right coaches doing things the way we are doing it. Right now, the 2 male athletes that are down here is James Sprague and Nate Ackerman. Nate's 2 or 3 years younger than us. And then James has been one of my best friends since I was 15. Uh, so we've become very used to competing against each other. But down here with Matt and Dom, how they program things is we will maybe do the same workout once a week. So we're not doing no one's doing the same training. More often, we'll get paired up with like a female athlete to do the same workout just to get that little extra push. But when we're actually going against competitors, maybe once a week at most. So that idea of like competing every day is completely eliminated because
Hmm.
you are focused completely on what you're doing and how you're approaching workouts. And we always have very specific intents. Like on this workout, you have to go unbroken on the muscle ups, no matter what it does to your overall time. So really, you can't focus on anything else but other than doing these muscle ups unbroken. And with that approach, I don't see there being any problems. I see it as all positives being in this kind of environment.
I love that. I think that's a really cool approach, and I haven't heard anyone kind of bring that point up. I mean, it puts a lot more on the coaches themselves to create
Yeah.
uniqueness and individuality in terms of the programming. But if they're doing a good job and being able to stay on top of it, that's pretty phenomenal. That you can get a coach you can do that, take the benefits from a group environment and try to negate the negatives.
Yeah. I mean, these coaches put so much in. I mean, we look up to them as mentors, coaches, but they're also some of our best friends. So it's been awesome. And I mean, that's how they did the training when we all lived somewhere else, is we all had our own individualized
Right.
programming. And that's what Brute's doing. And then the goal is just to do that same thing, but just here with eyes on us. So
And we were fortunate enough to have a bunch of your crew out with us. You know, we had Danielle, Brandon, and Emma Carey, and we had your coach Matt Torres out with us as well at camp. Can you give a little bit of some perspective on what it's like to have Matt? Matt was awesome. It's the first time that I think most of our Power Monkey coaches had a chance to meet him.
Mhm.
What an awesome guy, great guy, jumped into all the sessions and participated and had great questions. All of you guys that had really great questions, and that's something that kind of resonates with us as coaches and educators, kind of diving a little bit deeper into the nuance of things rather than just kind of staying superficial. And you guys did a really great job with that. And you and Matt were in the same group as well, so I know you guys had a similar camp experience. But what stands out to you with working with Matt as being a great coach, and what do you feel kind of allows him to elevate your training?
So one of my favorite things Matt's ever told me was he's always open to people asking him questions on how he programs, how he coaches, because he says, because no one's going to do it better than me. And I think that's the approach he takes to uh, his, this is his job and his career. And he's determined to not let anyone do it better than him. So he's going to be learning, reading books, trying new things, what works, what doesn't work, taking notes, and just analyzing everything he can. We finished up the games and he had already downloaded like 3 different gymnastics basics books, like positions and holds. And that's all I do now. So like as soon as the games are over, like him as well as Coach Dom, you guys weren't able to meet Coach Dom, but he's down here. Like just researching and figuring out how he can make us athletes better. And that's pretty special to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. I love hearing that. I would love to have Matt on at some point too. Jordan, what do you think about
Absolutely.
trying to get him on? Because
Yeah.
he's kind of person. Pick his brain would be, I think, phenomenal for the audience. Um, the other athletes, all very unique. I think you guys come from all over the country. There's maybe you and James have a background where you guys were friends, but what's it like being able to, you mentioned it maybe being like a team or a fraternity. What's it been like to be able to work with athletes from different ages, from different parts of the country altogether?
Yeah, it's super fun. It's interesting to see like how many different personalities can be in one gym. If you really take a look at all of us, most of us couldn't be more different from each other. But when we're all together, we're having a great time. Everyone gets along really well. Um, just learning different things. I think one of the biggest advantages we have is like James, who's this cardio freak, Danielle, gymnastics background. Um, Emma can suffer more than anyone I've ever met. Like just these little strengths that everyone carries and brings down. So when I'm doing a cardio workouts, if like I get paired up with James for some reason that day, it's like if I can get close or beat James, then I'm heading the right direction. I think we can use each other for that and pull different things, teach people different things. Um, yeah, they're just all great people, fun to be around. We do game nights and we're all just it's all our best friends. That's who we hang out with. So
Hmm. That's awesome. I mean, within a year, you guys have created a really cool community down there, and I hope we talked a little bit about off the air, but I think it would be nice to let listeners know a little bit of what it's like to be on the ground down there. You mentioned being in Naples, Florida, and Naples was hit incredibly hard by the hurricane a couple of weeks ago, and I know the gym was, and Matt specifically, you guys were hit extra hard. How you guys doing down there post hurricane, and how's the cleanup coming?
yeah, most of us no damage to apartments or houses, and most people I know. Unfortunately, Matt, I think a lot of people were able to see those pictures of his apartment that he was staying in and all of his stuff. And I know he's extremely grateful for the CrossFit community. There was a GoFundMe put together by the Morning Chalk Up, and he's doing much better now, like tons of support, and he's back to himself, which is always really good to see. But the cleanup process here, I I've never experienced a hurricane. I'm from Utah. Like I have no idea what so much wind and water can do, like how much damage. So the last couple weeks we've tried to get out when we can, and there's been a couple full days that we were able to go and just help people clean out houses. And there's a lot of elderly people down here who really can't do anything, and they're just like hoping and waiting that someone will show up to come help them. So just ripping out furniture and carpet. And I mean, these people lost everything, and it's going to be a long time to clean up, but it's cool to be able to see these people's faces when you do come around and help them. And as unfortunate as it's a really uniting kind of thing. I'm newer to Naples, but like I love this city and I want to just help build it back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the kind of thing that can really bring a community together with all the terrible things that come along with it. You know, we're talking again a little bit off the air. The 10-year anniversary for Hurricane Sandy in the New York, New Jersey area is coming up in I think a week or something. And you know, that was one that impacted our community back east really severely. And I know exactly what that, you know, those images in my head of those houses being destroyed and so many people being devastated. I know what that's like. And so, you know, we'll definitely want to get our community to support and help out as much as we can. Make sure we get the links to the GoFundMe page for Matt, and just know that Power Monkey team and community is here to help if we can do anything for you guys.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. We appreciate you.
So, want to go back to camp because you know it's still very fresh in our minds. And you mentioned how much you love gymnastics and hated the weightlifting stuff, which I appreciate. And you said that, right?
I mean, not verbatim, but pretty close.
Something like that, yeah.
But maybe it was just because it was what I was keeping an eye on. But what I noticed throughout the week with you specifically is you were working on your weaknesses the entire time, which meant you were doing a lot of gymnastic stuff. You know, I saw you on the parallel bars many times. I saw you, you know, work. You came to the press the handstand station, as you mentioned. We worked on backflips. We got to work on some higher level gymnastic skill work that I'm curious if you've ever really done it before, or if this was kind of initiation into things that were all new to you.
I mean, most of like same with Matt. Like I've been reading stuff. I'm gonna sign up at this gymnastics gym that's mostly for kids and try and get some private lessons and just work through each level of gymnastics.
Can we turn
I
that
think it'd
into
be
a
cool.
TV show by any chance?
I mean, you
Dallin
guys
with
could.
like 8-year-olds.
The
That'd
whole
be
Brute crew
amazing.
is going down.
Nice.
But yeah, a lot of that new gymnastics strength training is very new to me. It was always just like strict pull-ups and hit a couple planks every once in a while. I think one of the biggest takeaways from camp when I was watching you, Dave, some of the other coaches, Jordan, um, I've really was able to understand the two different kind of strengths there are. I've always been a little bit bigger, stronger, and I feel like I have pretty good barbell strength. I've snatched 300 pounds, which was, by the way, the greatest feeling ever. But I really want to be gymnastic strong. It's such a different strength, and it's so appealing to me. And like that's what I go into the gym every day trying to figure out and get better at. And the Power Monkey Camp was awesome to really experience that.
I'm glad to hear it. And you know, you're a big boy. You're very, you know, one of your legs weighs more than my entire body. So there are some internal challenges that are going to come along
Yes.
with doing things like a press the handstand correctly. But what I did notice is that when I mentioned earlier, you pick up things really quickly and you're able to make changes from turn to turn, which is rare, you know, especially on new technical movements. And do you find that to be the case a lot where you're able to comprehend a new concept quickly and apply it? Or is it just something that you innately say, okay, I need to learn this, so I'm going to put some extra attention towards it?
I think it's a little bit of both. It depends on what it is we're doing. With barbell stuff, I think I can apply things much better than with gymnastics, where I just have to focus a little bit more. Um, Back when I was playing baseball and football, I honestly feel like I was more athletic back then, which we're trying to flip flop and, like I said, become the best athlete I can be. Uh, and that stuff usually came pretty naturally to me, and I've always been aware of how my body's moving, and I'm extremely analytical. So I'm videoing everything. I know if I hit a snatch, I like, oh, I need to roll my knuckles down, keep the bar close. Like I can feel it as I'm doing it, and I think that's a huge strength of mine. But when it comes to gymnastics, I just have to put in more work as well as trust those instincts.
You doing that same thing on the filming, the video side on gymnastics movements?
Absolutely.
All right, please
Yeah.
do. Listeners out there, please.
Actually,
What's that?
I have a couple videos I need to send over to you on the ring thing. We've been working on some stuff.
Nice.
Nice.
Good. Yeah. The ring thing. I'm glad to hear you guys are using it. And I saw, you know, Danielle working on handstand push-ups in it. And most listeners probably know what the ring thing is, but amazing tool for working on strict gymnastics movements, but with a little bit of additional assistance. You get 50% of that body weight taken out, so you can probably feel like a superhero. You know, we call it the dream machine in the gymnastics world. All the things you could do in your dreams, you can actually do in reality now. So
Yes.
send those videos over. I want to see how the progress is coming along for sure.
Well, we should point out real quick that we're talking about games level athletes that are, backtracking a little bit and using something like the ring thing to help progress and move themselves forward. So don't think that you're above the ring thing or above any other type of modification that can help you, backtrack and work on the basics a little bit more and stuff like that. But talked a lot about you being an athlete in high school. One of the workouts that you said you liked the most was the swim erg, and that has stuck with me ever since you said that, because that workout just completely terrifies me if I think about even jumping in the pool and trying to breathe and then going back to the erg. But no swimming background, I guess. How have you gotten so comfortable in the water or comfortable enough to enjoy a workout like that?
Yeah, I think it comes down to ever since I started working with Brute's swimming coach. We call him Coach Nemo. I cannot say his actual name. He is the head of like Sink or Swim training up in Canada. And I've been working with him for 3 or 4 years now. Just swimming once a week, sometimes twice a week. His attention, again, comes down to attention to detail. His programming is incredible. And he has made me very good at not being able to breathe and just keep swimming. Like just figure it out as you're going, trying to control, get on a rhythm, breathe through it. And so the idea of jumping in after 100% ski erg didn't scare me. It was like, it's only a 50, like you'll breathe and get back out. And I love swimming. It's probably one of my favorite sessions of the week. Helps the body feel good. And you can just get very much into the zone. You can't hear anything. It's just you and the lane. So
Nice. And speaking of water, it reminds me of the ice barrels at camp. Did you do any of the contrast at camp, and do you typically do that as part of your training back home?
I wasn't able to at camp, but I do contrast at least once a week back here. So, and
Nice.
I love the feeling. It's a weird feeling. If you've never done contrast, you gotta try it. The different battles you fight with the cold and the heat is very good mentally as well as physically.
Oh man, I want to give a shout out there too. It was always one of my favorite recovery tools when I was at the Olympic Training Center. Every night before bed, I would do a cycle, hot cold, feel incredible before heading to bed. And now to be able to incorporate it at camp has been awesome. So ice barrel, they've been a big part of camp over the last year plus. They're awesome to have on board. And then we brought out Sisu saunas, both Ohio-based companies, made right here in the U.S. They're incredible saunas as well, and to be able to have those back and forth at camp has been a great addition. So I definitely want to give them a shout out for providing such a cool little addition to the camper experience. Chad, did you get a chance to do it?
No, I should have jumped in there. I've done it a few times. Well, not the contrast, but I've done the ice barrels at camp before. But this go around, I did not take part. It's being a little bit lazy during my off time.
We went in the sauna the first time we got it going, and for whatever reason, it was like late at night. It was like we had just closed the gym down, and it was cold at camp for
Yeah.
the maybe for you down the Florida weather was not did not come up with you to Tennessee. It was like
No.
got into like low 40s, high 30s a couple of nights. So leaving the gym, closing it down, we went in the sauna. I had this on. I had my camp hoodie on, and I went out with all my clothes. And it was so hot. And I was like, all right, this is not such a bad deal. But it ended up being like one of the best things that we did. Like, so every night before bed, go in the sauna a couple minutes before you actually finish up the night. It was a nice little addition. So that will be a part of camp moving forward for sure.
Yeah, I think I got enough of the sauna on day one when we had to move it on that first day. But
Yeah.
But yeah, switching gears a little bit here. You mentioned earlier your wife. So you're married, and I wonder, is she high school sweetheart? How'd that work out?
Yeah. So when I started playing those other sports again, so when I switched to CrossFit, a lot of my old friends didn't necessarily agree with that decision. I think partially it was my fault from distancing from them because I was doing this other thing and I didn't feel as welcome. I think it goes both ways, but I didn't have a ton of friends. Finally getting into like my junior year of high school, I start hanging out with this new group of friends. They're awesome. My wife happens to be one of them. At the time, she's playing club volleyball and traveling everywhere, so she was there every once in a while when we were hanging out, when it was season, and then she started coming around a little bit more. And I took her. It was her senior prom, my junior prom, and then we started dating after that, and then now here we are. Pretty
Nice.
wild.
And does she do CrossFit or anything now, or?
She does CrossFit, just like the hour a day, stay healthy. She doesn't want anything to do with that, and that's all right. But she's an incredible athlete, great volleyball player. So definitely some
Nice.
athletic genes.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many hours are you now, professional athlete, you're there at the hub. How many, give us a typical day. What's the number of hours you're in the gym? How's training structured?
Yeah. So I'll usually wake up 8:30, 9-ish. It's always interesting. People think I get up early, but no, got to get those sleep. Got to get that
Did
sleep
you do
in.
the sleep lecture at camp? Everyone, just waking up early does not mean that your body is ready for
Yeah.
that. So you wake
No.
up
Yeah.
when your
And
body is comfortable.
we
So
got to remind me who did the sleep lecture. What was her
Dr.
name?
Allison Brager.
Dr. Allison Breaker. We got to pull her aside a little bit and we chatted about like caffeine and sleep, and that was awesome. She's so knowledgeable. But yeah, so I'll get up 8:30 or 9. We'll get down to the gym about 10:30 when the first group is finishing up because we have a smaller gym. We're split up a little bit. I'll train till about 1:30 or 2, come home, head back to the gym about 3:30 or 4, and I'll be there for another 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on the time of the year. Come home, eat, stretch, watch the movies, hang out with Corinne. Right now we're watching Game of Thrones for the first time.
The
Incredible.
original or the new
The
House of Dragon?
original. We'd never watched it.
Oh man, you have so many things to learn.
I know. So we're about done, and then we'll get started on House of Dragons. But yeah, anytime I'm not at the gym, it's stretching and eating. So.
And outside activities, like, is this something like, do you feel like you're a professional athlete? Do you feel like you can dedicate the time necessary? And what are you doing to kind of like balance it out? You're watching movies and hanging out with your wife, but what do you do outside of the gym to be able to kind of keep sane?
Yeah, I think that's always a work in process. Like that's progress for me. I can get so singularly focused that I have to like James does a great job at helping me remember those little things. So I love golfing. I try and go once a week just to get outside, do something different. It's somewhat competitive, something I can work on that in the end doesn't really matter to my career. We play board games at least once a week with everybody or whoever can come. Card games, that type of thing. We just got a puppy. He keeps me sane.
Oh, nice.
Love that guy. But
Kind of dog.
it's a Cavapoo.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Jordan looks very
explain. Yeah, I'm not sure that what breed that is. Explain what that little guy looks like.
So it's a Cavalier and a Poodle.
Okay.
Cavaliers are like the big eared dogs, and then he looks like a golden doodle, but just bigger ears. Gotcha. And like a little fluffier. So yeah, he's pretty cute.
Nice.
We played pickleball last week. Just trying to get outside and be athletic, and
yes,
that helps. Pickleball's awesome.
Did you play a little bit at camp? Oh, me and you played.
Yeah, we won.
We played together.
We're the champs.
We won. We beat what, Jordan and Massimo?
Yeah.
So for listeners out there who were not at camp and didn't see the photos, pickleball has become a new station at camp. We like took over the whole endurance area, running station, moved the bikes out of the way, put a court. We're going to put 2 more courts for next camp out on the outdoor basketball court. It's going to become a thing at camp. So pickleball, I'm loving it. And I'm sure it's everywhere in Florida. I can imagine. It's like tennis courts have been taken over.
The world championships are in Naples. Like we went to these courts, and like back home we have like 18 courts in this one place. But we go to the world championship location. That's where we played last week. And it was a whole new world. They have like 12 courts that are covered in like shade, and then on the signs they have like levels. There's like a level 1, 1.5, all the way up to 4, and you have to like earn your right to play in the different courts because you have to be good enough. And
Nice.
it is crazy. But you guys have Matt hooked, so we'll probably be doing that quite a bit.
Nice.
I
Now
love it. Yeah, I got
is pickleball going to replace cornhole for Friday night?
my
Pickleball
racket is
tournament.
close by. Look at this. Somebody sent me this. I have
Oh
this
shoot.
is like a
Uh-oh.
professional racket here. It says
Wow.
this is no joke. I have not been able to use it because I have no friends out here that actually play pickleball. So any listeners that are in the Pacific Northwest that want to play pickleball, contact me. We will play. Dallin, if you want to come and be my partner, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, then no one stands a chance.
So upcoming season, a lot of stuff coming up. You know, the season is upon us in terms of early competitions. Rogue is coming up before we know it. What's next on the agenda for you in terms of competitions?
I'll be doing Wadapalooza individual. Just focused on that, and then we'll get into the Open and CrossFit Games. Not a super crazy off season. Took a full month off of doing nothings, and I've never done that, and I don't think I would have been able to if I was doing Rogue. Would have loved to have been there, but we'll save that for next year. And yeah, pretty simple right now.
So is that kind of the intention? You know, have one prep competition, start of the new year, get into the Open and make the games the focus?
Yeah.
Or is that just this year? I'm curious because there's so many events now that the prize money is becoming significant.
Uh-huh.
And in some cases, you know, matching what the games is putting out. So I'm curious from your perspective as an athlete, where obviously making a living out of it matters too. Is the strategy to focus on the games, or is there any intention around, you know, I need to be at these other ones too because, you know, the dollar amount associated with performing well matters as well?
Yeah, I think my goals align with I'm trying to win the CrossFit Games. That's my singular focus. I think it is important to get that practice and the exposure at these other competitions. So we've kind of decided that there's the semis, the CrossFit Games, and then a Rogue Wadapalooza Dubai style competition, like one of those thrown in there. Still with the intentions of winning, of course, but not overdoing it and just showing up to these competitions to get that check. The money is always very nice, but in the end, the goal is to win the CrossFit Games, and that's the decisions I'm making, making sure those align with that goal.
Do you think this year winning the games is a possibility, or is top 10, top 5? What is kind of on the agenda for this year specifically?
I know I can for sure get top 10, and any spot higher than that is a bonus. And that was kind of what we were going into with this year. But I think based on this year, there's still lots to improve, and each year we'll just keep chipping top 10, top 5, podium, that type of thing. So,
Amazing. So it's all about gymnastics, man. Gymnastics, and
yeah.
apparently the endurance side of things is your other little, I don't even call it a weakness, but an area to work on, because I don't think you really have an actual weakness.
Yeah, you guys should see what my training looks like right now.
Well, I'm excited to see what the upcoming year looks like, man. You know, Power Monkey will be pulling for you, and anytime you come to camp, you become part of our family. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help you succeed too. So send those videos along, and we'll be following you along for Wadapalooza. We'll be out there to see you in person.
Perfect. I appreciate that, you guys.
Of course. Now, before we get you out of here, we got some last minute questions and things that are kind of quick if you're up for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
What sport or discipline do you prefer, weightlifting or gymnastics?
Man, I'm going with gymnastics. It has my
Wow.
heart right. It has my heart right now.
Did you hear that, Chad?
I heard
Money
that.
well spent on my part. Thank you, Dallin. You're checking it out.
That's right. I think it was the pickleball though. You guys, you know,
Bonded.
bonded there over pickleball, so that's what led him to gymnastics. So.
He also learned a back tuck in about
That's true.
10 minutes. Did you ever try back tuck before that?
When I was like little on a trampoline.
Okay.
Like,
yeah. So there's a video going to be coming out that we put together for YouTube with Dallin and with Jeff Adler, both learning back tucks in a matter of minutes. So yeah, I mean the gymnastics, I think, it's a struggle point, but you learn shit fast, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
gotta keep working.
Absolutely. So thank you for that one. Chad has been slowly catching up on
Man,
me
I've
over
been
the
on a
last couple of
roll.
months. You have.
Yeah.
So I thought this one was sure in the bag for you. So it's a pleasant surprise. Number two, any guests? Maybe we already know the answer to this one, but any guests that you think we should have on the podcast? Maybe a Matt, somebody that you've come across recently that would be a good interview for us.
Yeah, I think Matt, and then I think a little hidden gem if you bring on Coach Dom with Matt, or a little bit different. Not as many people know Coach Dom, but he is incredible at what he does, and he's got some great insights. And then if you're looking for some entertainment, bring on James Sprague.
All right. Got a few on there then, Jordan.
Yeah,
There you go. Let's have them all three at the same time. How about that? Little
that'll be
variety.
entertaining.
All right. Any books you've come across recently that you would recommend to our listeners?
One of my favorites is called Predictably Irrational. It's basically just how irrational we are, even though we know it. Like we're still going to make those irrational decisions. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. That was my favorite.
Yeah, no, awesome. Well, we have not had that recommendation. I don't think I've heard of that one before, so appreciate that for sure.
It's
We'll
like
add it to our list.
more of a behavioral economics. That's my
Yeah.
major. So
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. Well, you're in school right now still?
I'm a junior, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't even touch on that. We'll have to have you back on for it and talk about your school and everything. But
Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, we appreciate that recommendation there. Man, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Really great to get to know you a little bit at camp, and certainly, I'm even more of a fan than of you than I was before. And before we get off here, this last bit of questions here. Anything you got coming up you want folks to know about? Any parting words?
I mean, stay tuned with me as well as all the Brute Strength crew and Brute as a company. We have a lot of really great things coming to social media, Instagram, YouTube. So make sure you guys are following along.
Awesome. And I'm sure our listeners will absolutely do that. And to our listeners, as always, guys, we very much appreciate you listening in. Be sure to head over to powermonkeyfitness.com for services and upcoming events. Also, check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante, and at Ollie Chad. And on behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your host. I'm Chad Vaughn with Dave Durante. Until next time, guys, thank you all for listening.